Welcome into the ESPN FC studios. We got a great day of Champions League football to catch you up on. Craig Burley, Stevie Nicol, Alejandro Moreno, Sebastian Salazar. We're going to preview Wednesday's action as well, but we got to dive right in on Spurs City. Heung-min Son, the game-winning goal, 78th minute. Craig, I'm going to start with you. I think on yesterday's show, you said City had to beat themselves. Did they?
Not really. I mean, it wasn't like a capitulation that they had at Anfield last year that made the second leg nigh on impossible. But I don't think it was the greatest performance, don't get me wrong, by their standards. They still bossed the possession and the ball, and Tottenham were limited. Both teams were limited to good chances. You know, obviously Aguero missed the penalty. But it wasn't swashbuckling from City. But then again, I don't think 1-0 will be a huge disappointment for them. They did miss Bernardo Silva, who's been fantastic for them. And obviously a lot of people talking about no De Bruyne. He's on the bench. I think there's a reason for that.
Stevie, fair result?
I don't know that anybody deserved to win the game, to be honest. There weren't that many chances. I thought City were a little passive when they had the ball. They had plenty of it, but going forward, you know, we're used to seeing the likes of Sterling and Bernardo Silva or Mahrez, you know, all these guys making runs in behind, and City trying to pick those passes out. They seemed quite content just to keep a hold of the ball and never created that much for me. So I think they've paid for just being a little passive. You know, when you go away at what you do best, and for City that is absolutely possessing the ball, but going forward with a bit of pace and with a purpose, and they had none of that tonight.
It just felt like Manchester City were playing with the hangover of last year's result against Liverpool in the first leg. That they had that in the back of their mind, and that the way that Pep Guardiola approached the match was simply to say, you know what? We'll take a draw here. We'll take even a 1-0 loss here. We just don't want to give ourselves too much work for the second leg. And in doing so, I think you start playing not to lose rather than to win the game. When you do that, then you open yourself up for an opportunity to come the other way, and then you end up losing a match that you had under control, that you had a lot of the possession, but didn't really do anything with that possession. And when you do nothing really with the possession, then when you lose it in a bad area, now there's a counterattack that opens up. And from there, that's, I think, where Heung-min Son is able to get in behind. Poor defending from Fabian Delph. I think it's poor goalkeeping from Ederson. And so a mistake on both areas, Delph and Ederson, you end up giving up a goal. Now you're down 1-0 in a game that I don't think if you're Manchester City, you should have been as passive as Stevie just mentioned, or as conservative as Pep Guardiola was. The substitution of Leroy Sané and Kevin De Bruyne at 89th minute, I mean, what are we doing? Unless there are some fitness issues with these guys, if you're looking for a change of pace, I mean, those are the guys to bring on with 10, 15 minutes to go when Spurs were struggling a little bit because of the extended possession by Manchester City.
I can understand De Bruyne being on the bench, though, not coming on as late as that, but I can understand him being on the bench because he's had a disruptive season with injury. He played in the Cup semi-final at the weekend, and this was always going to be an intense game. And I think there is still a bigger picture for Manchester City, i.e. the second leg, the title run-in. And so a lot of people are asking, you know, I've seen some of the questions that are coming in to your to the tweet that you put out saying, why is De Bruyne not playing? And I think that's one of the reasons. Bernardo Silva, I think it just tells you how well he's played this season, Bernardo Silva, that he was certainly missed for Man City tonight. But on the other side of the coin, you know, OK, were City passive and a little bit negative by their standards, or are we taking a lot away from Tottenham here, who were super organised both in defence and the middle of the park, and really made it difficult for a City side that, in the previous games against Spurs, have created way more chances. So maybe a little bit of credit to Tottenham as well.
You feel like Spurs have done enough here?
No, I still think City...
We haven't even brought up Harry Kane goes off, you know, second half.
Well, not only did Harry Kane go off, but Dele Alli as well. So they're going to have problems replacing those two if they don't make it. But at the same time, if Manchester City go about it the way they normally do, I don't care if they're 1 down to Tottenham at home. They're going to beat them for me. And that wasn't a bad team City put out. You know what? They're just lucky that they have De Bruyne and people like that to bring on. But the team they had out is a good team. Yeah, but I just think Pep Guardiola sent them out with the wrong message. I think that's the problem.
You agree?
Yeah, even in the pre-game questions that Guardiola is answering, even in the post-game conference that he obviously had to answer questions, everything was very understated about Pep Guardiola today. And I think that's what Manchester City was today, an understated version of themselves, which I suppose is okay if you finish 0-0, but now you're trailing. And even though 1-0, we would expect Manchester City to come back from it. Now you're in a position that it's uncomfortable. At the very least, it's uncomfortable. It's not impossible like it was against Liverpool last year, but I do think that there was more in this game for Manchester City, and they just chose to take a more conservative path, which is unlike them.
At least it's going to be a great game at the Etihad. So I mean, I still think City will go through it, but at least now, I mean, without Harry Kane, it's a huge blow, but at least the tie is alive. However, when are we going to get to the big talking point?
The penalty.
When are we going to get to the thing that's got everybody's head banging against the wall? You know,
it's early, and you guys were watching a match, and everybody in our green room is saying penalty.
Yeah.
And everything we're seeing on Twitter and television is saying no penalty.
Well, not everything.
Well, a lot of it.
Well,
A lot of it. I mean, am I wrong? Am I overstating?
No, there are a lot of people out there, and you know, particularly back in the UK, the broadcasters that were covering it, some of the pundits just can't get their head around it. But if you slide out and your arm is up here, when has that never been a penalty? Never mind under the new UEFA directives, which clearly say it's a penalty. And we've got to forget, Bjorn Kuipers, the Dutchman, is one of the best and most experienced FIFA officials. He went over and looked at it, and he clearly thought it was a penalty kick under the new directives from UEFA. Now, in the second half, near the end, Danny Rose made a similar challenge and came out and slid and kept his arm by his side.
So it can be done.
So for those that are saying, oh, well, where's he supposed to put his arm? He did it in the second half, and he did it properly. It was for me, it was a definite penalty.
To be fair, it was all like former players that were making the case that this should not have been a penalty.
Which is bamboozling to me. You know, Craig's talking about the new rules, and they're saying that when that happens under the new rule. When I was playing, that was a penalty kick, and nobody argued about it. So I don't get where these former players are trying to talk about it's not a penalty. And by the way, what they should have been talking about is why is Danny Rose lying on his back with his hand in the air anyway? You're supposed to make yourself bigger, not fall on your back. They should have been criticising him for the way he defended. And because he defended badly, he ended up on the back. And that's why his hand had to go out, because he had lost his balance.
Yeah. One of the more worthless arguments for not calling the penalty was some of the things that we were hearing about. Well, it's a well-poised game with a back and forth. Right. So what, do we just now not give away penalties so that the game stays well-poised? Are you out of your mind? What are we talking about? 100% a penalty. You put your arm out there, you're asking for it.
VAR is spoiling the game, some were saying.
Well, they don't know.
I mean, get the decision correct. I mean, it's like, I don't know. I mean, I'm bemused by, particularly former players, who are berating referees, some of them, and they're saying, well, you never played the game. I mean, I've always said this. The referees know more about the laws of the game than any of us that ever played, the top ones.
Yeah.
And Mr. Kuipers, the referee, in fact, we didn't see it live because we were watching two games. So kind of took your eye on the Liverpool game at a minute, and all of a sudden missed that. But as soon as the replay came in, there was 7 of us in the room, and every man and woman went, that's a penalty. Yeah. That's a penalty.
As we look ahead to the second leg now, I think the obvious headline, right, is can Harry Kane play? Mauricio Pochettino has come out and said he could miss basically what's left of the season, apparently, in his post-match press conference, and that he fears the worst with this injury. I don't think we can overstate what that does to Spurs' chances, can we?
Well, of course not, and not only in Champions League.
Top 4, right?
We're talking about top 4 as well, and how that comes into question. Now, Spurs have done relatively well without Harry Kane, and I think they'll find a way to deal with it. But dealing with it is not what you want to have at the quarterfinal stage of the Champions League. You want the very best out there. And when you lose without Harry Kane on the field is the threat of him being able to change a game by either picking out a pass, but more importantly, scoring a big goal, because that's what he brings to Spurs. And so how important would it be to have an away goal for Tottenham against Manchester City? Well, without Harry Kane, it becomes a whole lot more difficult to score that big goal. So clearly, I don't think you can understate and undermine how important this loss is for Spurs.
Steve, you said City needs to play their football.
Yep.
Are you sure that they will, given what we saw today?
Well, the good thing is they don't have any other option. You know, they can't afford to go out and be passive again. They're behind in the tie, so they have to go forward. And they're at home, so you expect them to go forward anyway. So I think it's pretty straightforward for City. They have to get the best players on the field, and that includes Bernardo Silva for me, and go forward and get after Tottenham, because without Harry Kane, that is a huge blow. He can score a goal from absolutely nowhere. Now that threat's gone, there's no reason why City should do anything other than get after it and get going at Tottenham.
Well, there might be another... I mean, that injury to Kane might facilitate a bit of a curveball for Guardiola in terms of, you know, there's potential now for Pochettino to change his shape. Because, and his name escapes me, the big fella up front.
Llorente.
Yeah. I don't think he might play, but I don't think he will. I think one of the things he could do, Pochettino, is go to a back three, get 5 across the middle with the wing backs, 3 in the midfield, and that allows him to get 2 guys up front, Lucas Moura and Heung-min Son. So that gives him a little bit of pace up there with Dele Alli supporting. So that, you know, it's probably not the shape he would have gone with Kane on the side, but with him out the side, he's going to have to find a different balance to give them a threat. And they could still go with 2 up front, and that's still a lot of threat. If City are pushing forward and you've got Moura and Son's pace, that's still a big thing to worry about.
The only problem with that is that 3-5-2 will more than likely become 5 in the back, and they're going to lose numbers in the midfield. And that's when perhaps Manchester City, with the ability they have, and they find open space in the midfield, it creates all sorts of chances, momentum builds, and then Manchester City scores the goals.
Given Kane injury, and if he's out, who do you think feels better going into the second leg?
Well, Man City for me.
Yeah? Even though they're down? Even though they're down?
Yes, at home, can play a lot better. And I still think only Man City can shoot themselves in the foot in this second leg.
I mean, if you'd given Tottenham a 1-0 lead before this game kicked off, they would have went, "I absolutely don't bother playing again."
Correct.
But at the same time, City at home, no Kane, sitting back.
Yeah, well,
I mean,
Manchester City can play...
City's still the favourites.
Yeah. Manchester City can play a whole lot better than they did today. I don't know how much better Tottenham can play than they did today. And so if they maximize both of their potentials, Manchester City's is much higher than that of Spurs.
Here's a look at Pep Guardiola's record from the quarterfinals on in Champions League in the first legs going all the way back to 2012. And you'll notice not a lot of W's in that result column.
Not any W's.
Away from home. Excuse me, not first. Away from home. Liverpool at Anfield in the first leg of their quarterfinal tie against Porto. 2-0 winners. Naby Keita in the 5th minute off a deflection. And Roberto Firmino in the 26th minute. Liverpool enjoying the 2-0 lead. At just about half an hour, Stevie, I think you wanted a professional, comfortable result. Was this it for you?
It was, yeah. I think obviously another goal would have killed it completely. But at the same time, I expect Liverpool to score away from home at Porto, and that means that they've got to score 4. I mean, really, do we see Porto getting 4 goals? So, yeah, thoroughly professional. There was a little moment, though, when I thought maybe the referee might have given a penalty against Alexander-Arnold, but fortunately for Liverpool, he gave a corner for a handball that he said was already over the line. So, other than that, completely professional.
There's a play in the first half where the Porto player actually puts Mo Salah through. And your reaction before Salah even didn't finish told me where you think Salah is. And we kind of saw that throughout the match, didn't we?
Well, he is, yeah. Listen, at the moment, he can't find a red jersey with a pass, and then when he has a shot, that's the only time he's finding a red jersey, because he hit Henderson once, and he hit Firmino straight in the back today as well. But you know what? You can't not play him. He showed us at the weekend that when he has an opportunity and he gets everything right, he's world class. But right now, that's only coming in spots. But he's got enough in the bank that he deserves to play, and he should continue to play.
Well, we didn't feel that support when you were watching.
There was a lot of Mo Salah comments in the green room whilst we were watching, particularly in the second half.
I mean, let's be honest.
By the way, when he said he needed a third goal, I said to him, they could do with a third, and he says, no, we're good. No, we're good.
Well, I did say it. We're going to score a goal in Porto.
They didn't get
that means
the
they
third.
need 4. They ain't scoring 4 goals.
They didn't get the third. Do you think they were aggressive enough going for the third?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, listen, when you've got a team pinned in the way Liverpool had Porto pinned in, there's not a lot of space in the penalty box. I mean, there's bodies everywhere. Maybe that's why Mo Salah is hitting Firmino and Henderson, but there's not a lot of space, and so it means that defenders, particularly because there's enough of them, can get a block or a challenge or do enough to put you off. So, hey, absolutely 100% professional.
There's a lot of things breaking down off Mo Salah at the moment, right? More than there was in his fantastic year last year. An awful lot of things in the final third. They're bobbling off or he's hitting somebody. But there's still enough out there that he's a game changer. The goal at Southampton at the weekend, the cross he put in at Bayern Munich, which was an absolute peach. Yep. It's just not all clicking for him at the moment, but he's still such a potential game changer that I think Klopp will take those little frustrations and he'll just put it to the side and have a word with him.
I think the 2-0, even though comfortable and professional, there might have been a couple of nervous moments as well for Liverpool where Alisson had to come up with a save and a couple of times where they got a little stretched. So even though I do think that Liverpool is going to go through, this 2-0 makes it at the very least interesting in the second leg where maybe Porto gets an early goal and maybe there's a little bit of something for Liverpool to be very careful about. I just don't think Porto is good enough across the board to really trouble Liverpool. But we just saw a couple of instances throughout the game where Liverpool, at times, they lost a little concentration. Maybe they're thinking about scoring the third goal rather than defending. And in doing so, they expose themselves. And that is something that you don't want to do often. Clearly, I feel like Liverpool is going to go through. But I'm just saying, it's a little closer than it should be.
Yeah, if you're a Porto fan, 2-0 down and you're bringing them back to your place, there's a little bit of hope there, as opposed to 3, where there would have been no hope.
Yeah. Hey, we mentioned Mo Salah on the attacking end. There's a challenge in the second half that on replay, slow motion, again, there's the context, looked kind of red to me.
I would agree with you 100%. Yeah. I thought it was red. Fortunately, Mo Salah was not going for the player. He completely misjudged where the ball was and went over the top of it. I don't think he had any intention whatsoever of catching the opposition. But it's reckless, it endangered the opponent, and it should have been a red, whether he means it or not.
The Porto player does him a favor, actually. Yeah, because Danilo, who was on the ground, because if he goes rolling around and sells it, then I think it's a more difficult decision for the referee. But it almost felt like it was a graze over the top of the shin, and he just kind of got up and went on about his business, doing a favor to Mo Salah and Liverpool as well.
Red for you?
Oh, 100%. Definite red. And what's even more the case of him getting away with it is there was VAR.
Yep.
So somebody has sat there in the VAR truck and, for whatever reason, has decided that that's not a red card challenge. But I think had he told the referee to go and review it, I don't think the referee would have seen it that way.
2-0 after the first leg. Here's a look at the odds now updated ahead of the second leg. And as you can see, things not looking good for Porto. 1-40. Boy, you got to put a lot down.
I've never seen that before.
No, right? If you want to make any money off Liverpool, you got to bring a lot to the bank.
What happened to your players, your guys?
Well, I mean, that's, I think, why Liverpool won so easily. There was no Hector Herrera in the middle. Porto clearly missing their Mexican influence. Thank you for letting me get that in.
Okay.
Old Trafford set to host Manchester United Barcelona on Wednesday as we take a look at your odds to advance to the semifinals between these two. Barcelona going off at 2-9. Pretty big favorite there. Stop me if you've heard this before. Manchester United has a bunch of players injured. This from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. We still hope maybe that Nemanja Matic can be ready, and Ander Herrera is probably out. Eric Bailly and Antonio Valencia are definitely out. Alexis Sanchez is not going to be able to join in tomorrow. Hopefully Rashford will be ready. Rashford, it looks like, did train on Tuesday. Not entirely, but he did train at least part of the session. Here's a possible 11 for Manchester United, as well as some subs. They were missing a lot of guys against PSG, but with this many players out, any of us, Craig, I'll start with you, like their chances against Barcelona?
Chris Smalling does.
Well, he said he wants. He didn't say like their chances. He wants to play Messi.
Bring it on, he said. The most informed man on the planet. Look, I don't see Barcelona making the same mistakes that PSG made. You know, we talked about PSG at length and how they just completely bottled it in the second leg with the mistakes and the performance. But whilst Barcelona themselves have got, you know, weaknesses in defence that better teams can maybe pick apart, I don't see it happening with this Manchester United side. Even if they did have the fully fit players, I would still fancy Barca, particularly if Messi shows up and he's in the mood. It's simplistic to say it is about Messi, but it is. It kind of is about Messi. It's about 10 other players doing the job and then him being out of this world.
Stevie?
Listen, the fact that probably Herrera and Matic are going to be out, that's two of your... Listen, those two and Pogba is their best three as far as Solskjaer's concerned, and two of them are going to be missing, and that means who's going to stop the ball getting to Messi? Who in the middle of the park is going to stop Barcelona getting the ball to the feet of Lionel Messi? I don't think McTominay is. I don't think Fred is. That means you're going to be under pressure constantly. Rashford up front, who's not fully fit. I mean, he's your hope. He's your hope to try and get something from this game on the break. And if he's not 100%...
Yeah, look, I've tried and I've failed to make a case for Manchester United having an opportunity here, because I think that there is a chance for them to counter against Barcelona. Barcelona has been exposed in the time and time again in La Liga against teams that are not as good as Manchester United, and Ter Stegen has to come up with saves. But one of the things that Manchester United could have used was a mentally and physically taxing match against Atletico Madrid for Barcelona in the weekend. Well, it was neither of those because Diego Costa got himself thrown out. And so then, from then on, it was all about possession. It was all about a training session. I just think that Barcelona comes into this ready to go, and it's going to be very difficult for Manchester United to get a hold of the ball.
Let's move on to Wednesday's other matchup, Ajax and Juventus in Amsterdam. Here are the odds. Again, Juventus, a big favorite. The talking point around this one, will Ronaldo play? Injured a month ago playing for Portugal. Here's Max Allegri. Cristiano Ronaldo trained with the team. He is at our disposal, and if nothing happens before then, he'll be not just available, but in the starting 11 tomorrow. So here's probable 11 for Juventus.
Most of us are in agreement that would be a stupid move.
So that's my question.
And if he does play and he picks up an injury, it could be the rest of the season for him, and that is going to put.
So why risk? Why?
I would not be able to answer that.
The only answer to that is that Allegri is not showing his teeth. He's caving in. Because Ronaldo's been chapping on his door, telling him he's fit, telling him he's ready. And if he caves in, which it looks like, tell you what, they could be in trouble if he goes out.
Well, whatever happens in tomorrow's match, you can rest assured we'll cover it here on the show. Don't miss it. The questions are rolling in on Twitter for today's version of Extra Time. Plenty to discuss, I'm sure, from the Spurs victory and the Liverpool victory as well. If you ever do want to watch Extra Time, you can do as our good
Chucky
friend...
Lozano question again at the bottom, look. Popped up again, or is that cut and
Glad
paste
we
from
chose to
yesterday?
make fun of me here. I was going to say, just do what our good friend Peter Walton does.
What's that?
Google YouTube. And you'll find our
I thought you were going to say ignore you.
We'll do that
That's what I thought he was going
We'll
to
see
say.
you guys next time. Welcome into this Tuesday edition of Extra Time.
No, welcome.
I know, miss it when he didn't go, hey!
Hey there, Brady.
Hey!
Is that really what I sound like to you?
Pretty much, yes.
Well, at least that means you're listening.
Hey.
You know, when I was told that you were sitting in for Dan Thomas, it was not happy news for me. I'm just gonna say that, yeah.
Wow, that is...
So I miss Dan.
Yeah,
that
Dan,
feeling is
come back,
usual.
Dan.
He nearly fell off the chair.
Things you'll never say.
Really fell
Please
off
come
the
back,
chair.
Dan.
Dan, where are you, Dan?
We got
I'm sorry, did I say that out loud?
I think you don't have to say it out loud. It's well documented here within the show. Look, we got some questions to get to for Extra Time, but first I want to pull up a picture that is accompanied by a good story this weekend. We have this is a young Stevie Nicol doppelganger that I met at the FC Cincinnati match. And here's the best, these kids are 19 years old, so they never saw you play Stevie. They're such fans of the show. His buddies call him Stevie Nicol.
Yeah!
It's my guy Brady from University of Cincinnati.
I can't make my mind up.
Doesn't he look?
I can't make my mind up whether that's a good or a bad thing.
Hey,
Let's
he
see it.
is you.
Right?
I'll tell you what, I'll get my
Honestly,
haircut. I'm going to get my hair cut this week as well.
For the first time since when?
Honestly, if he gets smaller glasses, he'd be, I mean...
It's a bit worrying for that lad that he's going to turn into.
Yes,
It's not good news for him, is it?
Brady, I believe is his name. Brady, this you're
Bad
looking
news
at,
for Brady. Sorry, lad.
at your future.
Yeah, it's all downhill.
Very much so. Steep.
Yeah.
Steep downhill.
That's good stuff. All right, let's get the questions here.
All right.
Anthony wants to know. Oh boy, we're very serious to start off. Extra time. Based off the penalty in Spurs City, Danny Rose, do you think there's an issue with VAR or referees in Italy, seeing as the same call was deemed no foul in Juventus Milan over the weekend, referencing an Alexandro handball? What do we think for those that saw it?
That should have been a penalty as well. But again, even though the technology is available, it still is about the interpretation of human beings, and human beings can make mistakes. And in this case, the referee in the Juventus-Milan game made a mistake. That should have been a penalty.
Same?
Penalty.
Penalty? Next question from Rovshan. Oh, he's coming after you, Stevie. Steve probably won't admit it, but surely Salah is lucky not to get a red card today.
Absolutely
You
not.
discussed this on the show.
Yeah, we did on the show, and I said absolutely it should have been a red card.
Yeah.
I don't think there was any intent. I've got to make that clear. But at the end of the day, if you endanger an opponent the way he did, I'm afraid he's a lucky boy. He should have gone off.
We put up a graphic in the show cataloging Pep Guardiola's struggles in the Champions League quarterfinal stage and beyond away from home.
Not Pep was a fraud.
Well, I didn't tweet. No,
Seen a
this
few
is.
of those
But
floating around.
why does Pep keep getting it wrong in the Champions League? How do we explain it then?
Well, this is not over, right?
Yep.
There's a second leg to be played.
At
So
home.
you can argue if they actually make a comeback that, well, you know, their conservative, passive approach in this first leg would be justified if they end up coming back. I really think that just today, in particular, it was more about them not giving away too much. And if they lost 1-0, I think Pep Guardiola, in a quiet moment, is okay with that because he's comfortable and confident that his team will come back from this.
Do you think, you know, every time we see Pep and every time we talk to all the players, and he's always on about positive playing and getting goals and creating chances and forget defender and get that way. Maybe all of a sudden when he gets to the later stage in this tournament,
What's he doing?
It's playing a positive.
it's get forward, go on.
He's hitting a backhand.
But it's a bit like a jockey, isn't it? It's just like just getting a little whip. But they're always talking about being positive, right?
No, there's an image.
So maybe
you
it comes to this game, the likes of this game.
Horse's legs would just go like that.
Stevie, I
You gonna let me answer Jazzy's question or what?
Right, okay.
You can take the Mickey after the
God's
finish.
sake, get him off!
Why are you not moving? Why are you not moving?
One person at a time!
You see the action, by the way? See that?
Yeah. Is that how you do it?
That's how you do
Is that
it.
the
Finish
technique?
My niece taught me that.
Finish this.
Right. So, he's always positive about going forward and looking for the ball.
I'm sorry.
I didn't even realise I did that, by the way. I
Yeah.
was just, I couldn't help myself.
Hit it with a
Like the top of
backhand.
your hands.
So that when he turns round, on the odd
I
occasion,
want you to know I am listening. They may not be, but I am
why don't
listening.
you just shut up?
Hey,
and if
the
you
people-
shut up, I'll know you're listening. How about that? Hey? Did you ever think of that?
You're not in one of those again,
Yeah,
are you? You're not
usually-
blah, 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 blah.
Usually when somebody's not speaking and they're looking at you, that means they're listening.
Finish the... Finish it.
I became the bad guy. These guys are laughing at you, and I'm the
Hey.
bad guy.
Why does everybody want to kill managers
Seriously.
though, after first legs?
Right, so, they're going forward, right?
I'm having a kip.
And so they can't do it.
I'm out.
Did you just hurt yourself?
Now,
They bang your knee.
Those that are listening on the podcast, Craig just kicked the desk with his knee.
Right, so basically when they're told to come back on the throttle, they can't do it, and it upsets the rhythm.
There you go. All right.
Josiah wants to know, isn't it weird that Heung-min
back
Son
to the
is never linked to any of the big clubs, which is clearly taking a shot at Spurs?
no, I don't think he is.
I mean, he's kind of saying Spurs, aren't
Well, I think he just means why is he, you know, Harry Kane and Christian Eriksen or players like that linked to, you know, more successful clubs, and why he's Heung-min Son. No, I think that's a... I don't think he's been sarcastic. I think it's a genuine... And maybe somebody is out there, I don't know, looking for somebody like Son. He's a terrific
Who
player.
said he was sarcastic?
Well, when he says now he's never linked to any of the big clubs. If I was a Spurs
thought that
fan,
was a dig
I
at
might be
Spurs.
like,
I don't think it was a dig at Spurs. I just think
you don't see his name underrated. I feel like.
Is he what? Sorry?
Do you feel like he's underrated?
He's certainly not underrated at Tottenham.
He's been excellent for that. He has been. And productive and consistent, whereas others haven't been, he has.
Final question. Stevie, for you, I guess, or anybody. How do you rate Naby Keita's performance tonight? Were you surprised to see him in the 11, or...?
Not really. Not really. I think Klopp, for me, when it's come to big games, usually it's been Henderson, Milner and Ronaldo. Because of the suspension for Robertson, obviously Milner then moved to left back, so he doesn't start. But then Keita was brought to Liverpool, I think, to actually contribute as far as goals are concerned from the middle of the park. And the fact that he scored at the weekend, and the fact that Wijnaldum hasn't been particularly at his best recently, then I think that's why he started Naby Keita today. And he got the goal.
Do you have a hacky sack as a pocket square there? What is it? Hacky sack?
It's just like a normal pocket square.
Okay.
Is that your granddad?
You're picking on me.
No, I'm just asking. Looked like a hacky sack ball.
I'm not a big hacky sacker, to be honest.
All right. When are you going to the riding school then?
Of all the people whose fashion you're going to pick on this set, you came after me?
Horse riding.
It's an easy target.
When are you going to horse riding school? Just so we can give the horses some
to be fair.
prior notice.
Heads up. They got to prepare.
Come on, heads up. Get some good rest.
To be honest, I don't need to go to school.
You better get on the old leg weights, the horses.
I've definitely graduated.
What?
I don't need to go to school. I've graduated. You see the form in that?
Actually, you have got a bit of family history.
Absolutely.
With
yeah.
Jockey's his niece.
Yeah, my niece.
Very successful.
Nicola Curry. Women's Jockey of the Year in England last year.
Wow. Awesome.
Takes a bit of doing.
It takes a lot of doing. You've been on a horse, though.
I feel like
got to do a preseason for the horses.
extra time has come to a natural conclusion.
Clydesdale, don't worry about it.
I presume her diet's slightly different to yours.
Man, we're really on some thin ice here.
Well, I mean, you talk about staying the obvious. Here it is.
Right, come on.
All right.
Jockeys don't eat.
This fun will continue throughout the week.
They chew steaks, and this is true, they chew steaks and then spit it out. You know that?
I don't understand. Chew steak.
Jockeys, and take the nutrients.
They get the protein
and then
spit it
they
out.
don't actually eat the steak.
Insight.
Is that well done or?
Well, it's more medium well.
Listen,
Gab
don't
order
say
the
you
steak.
don't learn anything.